Hey everybody, I'm Caleb and I'm here to kick off a new series with you called REMIX. You know what a remix is, right? It's a new way to change up an old song. You take the original track, you add something new, and then remix it to get a totally different result. A unique sound, a different beat, a change in tempo, a guest artist on the track. Add any of it and the song completely changes. You get a remix. While this series isn't about remixing music, it is about changing the way we see and experience a really big part of our faith. It's about helping us live out one thing we say matters most when it comes to following Jesus, and that one thing is serving. When I talk about serving, I'm talking about doing something good for other people, something that helps or benefits someone else, something that, well, serves another person around us. Let's be real about this though. Yes, I know that serving is a part of what it means to follow Jesus. I know that giving back and doing good for others really matters, but if I'm being honest, serving isn't always my favorite thing to do. I remember back when I was in middle school, I had just made that jump from 5th to 6th grade. I thought I was the guy, right? Like new things were coming, it was about to be fun at church, at school, everywhere, right? And at church in the spring, we did this thing called a 30-hour fast. And if you don't know what that means we were going to not eat for 30 hours. And little middle school me who couldn't go 5 seconds without snacking on Skinny Pop was like, nah, I'm not doing this. And we had to raise money for it, for a different cause. We picked a different cause each year to give the funds to. And then during that 30 hours, we didn't just sit at home and chill and do whatever. No. We were gonna go serve. We were gonna go, some of us went and literally chopped up lumber. I don't know what I look like to you. I'm not a lumberjack, nor do I look like one, but we went and did all these different service projects. And I remember just thinking, Dad, do I have to do this? He worked at the church, he was a pastor. I was like, I know I'm gonna have to, but like, do I really? That just seems so exhausting. And maybe your experience serving isn't at all like mine and you love doing good for others. It's something that comes naturally to you and you look for ways you can help. Well, let me just say that I'm thankful there are people like you who step in when it's needed. But if we're honest, I think most of us would probably say that we don't always have a positive view of what it means to serve. Let's be real. It's just super inconvenient. You've got a lot going on already, and you know serving other people takes a lot of work and a lot of time. And maybe you've got big needs yourself. How can you serve someone else when you need a little help and support too? Or sometimes serving feels like a chore. It's not something you want to do. It's something you feel like you have to do. And that's not fun at all, is it? Some of you may have given serving a shot, but the experience wasn't all that great. It probably left you wondering if it was even worth it in the first place. And still, others of you might not be sure where or how to start. As a middle schooler, how much good can you actually do to meet a need when you see it? If you can't really do anything about it, what's the point in even trying? The truth is, we all have plenty of reasons not to make serving others a part of our everyday lives. Even if we do jump in and try to help someone else, we aren't always doing it for the right reasons. Sure, we have to meet that requirement for school, or we want to go because the rest of our small group is going, or we know the parents or adults in our lives will make us do it anyway. But at the end of the day, if we're being real, our hearts just aren't always in it. Here's the deal. Serving others is a big part of our faith. It's one of the best ways we can really follow Jesus' example. And I think that means it's one thing we've got to figure out how to do, not just because we have to do it, but because we want to do it. Let me challenge us with this. Maybe the problem we're having with serving isn't actually about serving. Maybe it's about the way we see serving. So what if it was possible to change that? If we want to figure out a new way to view serving, there really isn't a better place to look than Jesus himself. The way Jesus treated other people is the best example we have to understand what it really means to live out what Jesus says matters most. So let's start there. There's a great account of Jesus serving other people in the book of John in the New Testament. What's cool is that John actually lived, walked, and served right beside Jesus. What the book of John records are things John saw or experienced himself. And the moment we're gonna look at today is one where Jesus actually went out of his way to serve the very people he was closest to, like John. We join the story as Jesus and his disciples were gathered together to celebrate Passover. Passover was a pretty important event where Jews remembered the way God was faithful to save and rescue their ancestors from slavery in Egypt thousands of years before. But there was something different about this particular Passover meal, something even the disciples didn't know. These were Jesus' final hours. The time was coming when Jesus would be arrested and killed, and Jesus knew it. So as he gathered with his friends in these moments, Jesus probably wanted to share something important with his friends, something that would help them know how to keep living out all he taught them once he was gone. Let's take a look at what Jesus did. So he got up from the table, took off his robe, wrapped a towel around his waist, and poured water into a basin. Then he began to wash the disciples' feet, drying them with the towel he had around him. If you're anything like me, you're probably thinking, yo, this is weird. Like, Jesus washed their feet? What does that have to do with anything? Please don't tell me, please, Caleb, don't tell me this is the new way we need to see serving. And let me reassure you that I'm not about to ask you to literally wash somebody's feet. We're all good there. What I am gonna ask you to do is remix the way you see this story. While we might be totally grossed out at the idea of washing somebody's feet, back then, it was a major act of service. Think of it like this. Have you ever been to the pool or beach in the heat of the summer and your sandals or slides or shoes just got wet? What happened after about a week of walking around in those sweaty, wet shoes in the heat of summer? Your shoes and feet smell terrible. Well, in Jesus' day, people wore sandals made of rope and leather and would walk for miles in them on dirt roads. And animals shared these roads too. When you combine the heat and sweat with bare feet and dirty roads, you can just imagine the result and the smell. So when you entered someone's home in Jesus' time, you came with filthy, sweaty feet, and it was a common courtesy to have a servant wash them. And 2,000 years ago, washing someone's feet wasn't a fun, easy, or rewarding job. That's what made it so wild that Jesus chose to do it for his disciples. This is Jesus, the Savior of the world, the one who had the power to raise dead people to life, the Son of God in human form. And he was also the one who went out of his way to serve his friends and wash their feet. Jesus didn't serve his friends in this way so other people would think he was amazing. He didn't do it because it was required of him or a chore he had to finish. He didn't do it because God made him do it. Nah, Jesus washed their feet for no other reason than to show the disciples what serving others is really about. Remember, these were some of Jesus's last moments with his friends. He could have taken that time to do or say just about anything, but Jesus chose to simply serve them. It was that important to him. This was a real way to show his disciples just how much he loved them. Take a look at what Jesus told his disciples just after this. And since I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you ought to wash each other's feet. I have given you an example to follow. Do as I have done to you. Here's the challenge for us in Jesus' words. Do something small to serve others, even when you don't have to. Remix your approach to it. Instead of going into it thinking it's a chore or an obligation or something you don't have time for, go into it remembering this story. Do it because Jesus did it for us to show us what God is like. Serve someone else in even the smallest way as a response to the way Jesus served and loves you. That's what the disciples did. They continued Jesus' acts of service toward others long after he left them. And thousands of years later, we're still talking about what Jesus did. Jesus changed the way those following him saw serving then, and I know the same can be true for us today. We can choose to serve and love other people the way Jesus did for us. You can choose to do something small to serve others even when you don't have to. I know this sounds like a simple thing to say and a much harder thing to actually do, but I also know from experience that when we choose to change the way we see serving, it can make a big impact, not just on other people, but on our own hearts too. I told you all earlier about that 30-hour fast that I had. I got to a point where I was like, I got nothing better to do this weekend. Like, honest, I'm a 6th grader. I can't drive. I can't do anything. Let's just do it. Y'all, one of the best moments of my life. One of the best moments of my entire life. We got to the church Friday night, we worshiped together. We heard a message talking a little bit more about the wells that we were raising money for to create in countries that needed access to clean water. And I was like, yo, I'm so about this. This is great. Then we had a lock-in at the church. Didn't get much sleep, which is not good when you're not eating, but didn't get much sleep. Woke up the next morning. We were staying up on our water and our Gatorade and our drinks, and then we went out and we just served. I couldn't even tell you all the things that each individual small group and pocket in my ministry did, but y'all, we made a difference. And when we got back to the church and we were about to break the fast, we announced how much money we raised. We were gonna be able to provide clean water to thousands of people. And I got to a point where I was like, I don't even know if I want this to end right now. I don't even know if I actually want to eat food, because what I just experienced, what I was able to do with the people around me, the impact that I was able to have through just saying, nah, for a weekend, whatever I want to do, we'll push that to the side. I'm just going to go be for other people. Changed my life. I did it for the next 6 years. Every year, me and my friends, we got so excited for the 30-hour fast, and it really just changed, completely changed the way I saw serving. See what I mean? You can do something small to serve others, even when you don't have to. And when you do, I think you'll be surprised to find how much it means to you too. Be honest about the way you view serving. When you have an opportunity to serve someone else, how do you feel? What holds you back from doing it? What attitude do you have about it? Be honest about those things, maybe to yourself or to God or even to your small group leader. Why? Because those feelings are clues to how you need to remix the way you see serving. Ask God to change the way you see serving. We can't remix our view of serving others without the help of the one who has the power to change our hearts. So, ask God to change your heart when it comes to serving others. That prayer, it's gonna look different for each one of us depending on where we are with this, and that's okay. God will meet you right where you are. And the more you go to God in prayer about it, the more you'll see your heart change towards serving every day. Remember, you can do something small to serve others even when you don't have to. And a great place to start figuring out what that looks like for you is in small group. Small groups were created to be a place where you can talk about and even live out this faith stuff together. A place where you can lean on each other as you figure it out. It's a great place to talk about what it might look like for you to step out and serve on your own or together. So, when you head to small group, I want you to think about sharing your answer to this question. What's one thing that keeps me from serving others?